Hello everyone. Today I want to share something I believe it's crucial for everyone to hear. As some of you may know, I have been through a lot these past few weeks, and I've learned a lot, especially when it comes to healing and shadow work. Regardless, extreme is never good. Don't be too extreme on one thing. That includes healing and shadow work. And of course, find the balance and find the flow in your life and follow and surrender and trust that flow. But first of all, healing starts from within. It starts on the inside. And it's all about inner work. This is because your inside is wounded. And so that wounded self puts you down constantly in a lower vibration, preventing you from manifesting abundance and creating a reality of unconditional love and happiness for yourself. Because you are manifesting based on your wounds. And all these wounds comes from, most of the time they come from your past, your childhood, your teenhood, your adulthood, and it could even come from past lives. The wounded self also manifests into your shadow self. The shadow self is a part of who you are, and that's why we have shadow work to do, which is a part of inner work. So how do we do this? How can we heal from this? I want to point out that healing takes a long process. And by healing, I mean healing the roots, the root cause, the origin, the seed that caused this wound, right? The earliest cause from your childhood or even your past life that created this wound so deep inside you that you may have been neglecting for a while. We do not heal this wound from the outside. We do not seek methods from the outside. We do, but it's all inside. It's all inside. And this can take years, decades, or even a lifetime, depending how deep the wound is. Healing doesn't take days or months. Maybe if some of you are not as wounded and feel more liberated, maybe it could take days. But usually it takes years or more. And the more you neglect, the deeper the wound gets, and the deeper it's suppressed and hidden dormant inside. I'm not here to scare you, but to show you how you can start healing now. The first step is to be aware consciously of yourself. Are you acting a certain way based on negative emotions such as fear, grief, jealousy, any other negative emotions? It could also be the ego, which is more of the fight and flight mode, forcing an outcome in life, and needing to control every single situation in life. These are part of the ego tactics. And you can see how the wound and the ego correlates. And so getting rid of the ego is also a huge liberation for the wound. Once you are aware of the certain way you act or react in certain situations, this includes mentally, physically, and emotionally, you may know that there is something inside you that needs working. Start by allowing these emotions to come out. Find a quiet room, isolated from others, so you can release these emotions. Suppressing them will never work because you are just putting away the mess temporarily, and it will pile up as you keep suppressing. In our society, we are taught to suppress in every way possible, to be obedient. And this really puts us in a lot of strains, stress, without us realizing deep inside the deepest wound we have kept all these years. So never suppress, but allow them to express. Allow yourself to feel these emotions. Allow yourself to cry, to scream, to be angry, to be sad if you need to be. You can't suppress. Allow this. This is part of life. This is nature. Allow the natural process to take place. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with the process. Being patient is one of the best forms of love you can give for yourself. Just like how you are patient with loved ones. Suppression also includes the physical. Going to therapy to get pills for mental symptoms or physical symptoms, like depression, like fever, nausea, diarrhea, to suppress the body and mind from letting them out, from purging or releasing itself, is another detrimental thing we can do to our bodies. That's why I started avoiding medication that suppresses our bodies. Our bodies are very intelligent. They know what needs to be released and what needs to be let out. It's like the shadow work on the physical. You are purging and cleansing yourself, and it is a painful process, but you need to go through it without running away. That's why when my body wants to vomit, I vomit. When my body wants to burp, I burp. When my body wants to fart, I fart. When I have a fever, I go through it. I go through it without taking any Panadol, any medication. It's all shadow work. Suppressing the shadow is never good, but you must learn to calm it. I allow myself to release emotionally and physically because I love myself unconditionally, and suppression isn't love. So, let's get back to the shadow self. You first talk to your shadow. First you start to be aware of the inner work you need of your shadow side, and then you talk to it. Talk to your shadow. Ask yourself why you're feeling this way. Go deeper into the roots. The deeper you go, the more you'll find out why you feel this emotion, why you're acting in a certain way based on a certain situation. Then you will know what the root is and what's the best way to heal. The process requires a lot of trust in you and a lot of patience too. Most people will give up halfway and run away. I recommend going as deep as you can, but if you can't, just do it slowly, in baby steps. Another important thing is forgiveness. Forgive yourself and be grateful to yourself. Every time a past memory or of a mistake you remember, quickly allow yourself to feel this mistake, but then forgive. Give yourself all the compassion you need to receive, all the grace. Also practice strengthening your mind to stand your ground. Stand your ground even when you get triggered heavily by these memories. Sometimes memories could also be a part of unresolved shadow. You know yourself the best. Do what works best for you. Trust yourself. Trust the process of healing. The memories could also be from the ego that try to trap us, that try to put us back in that low vibrational state. That's why we need to be aware. And that's why we need to have compassion, unconditional love, and patience with ourselves. Not judging our shadow, not judging our mistake. The more we judge ourselves, you judge others, right? And that's how conflict is created. Conflict is created from the inner and then continues to the outside. There is also a meditation called the dynamic meditation from Osho. This puts you in a state of madness. I recommend you try it. It really helps with releasing anything from within. Cry, scream, move intensively as much as you need to release. Shine brighter. Shine the light into your shadows. Shine your unconditional love so bright that your shadow can feel it. Instead of trying to kill them, instead of trying to suppress them, embrace your inner demons and overcome it all with love. Wars exist because the person's mind is wounded, full of friction and conflict exists within. The more conflict it exists within, the more it spreads to the outside. If we are all conflicted within the mind, the soul, of course it reflects. It reflects to the outside, right? So now we talked about the inner. Let's talk about the outer. We do not ignore the outer. Just because I said focus on the inner doesn't mean we have to ignore it. We don't go too extreme on one side. The outer is also very beneficial. I mentioned the most important part is the inner because that is where we create our realities. The outer reflects from your inner like a mirror. So you can learn a lot just by observing the outer. Be an observer. Every relationship around you, whether if it's family, romantic, spouse, friendship, they are all like the closest mirror for you to reflect on yourself. How they treat you and how they act around you really reflects. Another thing is you can also heal yourself through the way you treat others. Or actually, the best way I could say is it's the best to practice self-love through others. Love comes from within, and the more love you have inside you, the more you give out. So by being conscious of loving yourself, you can naturally and easily love others unconditionally. It's a very good way to practice loving others because you work on the inner and the outer simultaneously. It's the best. We live in this world of duality, and we live on this human life where not everything is sunshine and there are bad things. We experience good and bad. And so I want you guys to change the perspective. When you have a bad day or when something bad happens to you, think of it like shadow work. Just like getting sick. When you get sick, it's actually a good thing because you're purging the shadow. Your body is purging. Your body is cleansing. And shadow work is painful, but it's all about cleaning. It's all about healing. It's all about love. Same with birth pain, right? So whenever life throws at you something, you don't think them as a conflict. You don't be in a force of friction with them, but you embrace them. You accept them as it is. Just like the way of life. You accept them as they are the shadow work. As they are part of shadow work. And part of releasing. All that needs to be released. Karmic is something to be released, to free your soul through shadow work. And finally, if we all start healing from within, from our heart, from our soul, we heal the body because the symptom, if our soul is sick, our body gets intense symptoms. Our body gets different symptoms. And if our body is sick, then it affects the family. And if the family is sick, it affects the community. If the community is sick, it affects the city. And then a country. And then the world. And then beyond, right? It all begins from within. Start healing yourself. Start doing the inner work. Start loving yourself. Start having grace, having compassion, and forgiving yourself. Don't judge your shadow. Once you have that unconditional love within yourself, everything will start to change magically. The world will change. The world of light, of unconditional love will spread like wildfires. And we will no longer judge the shadow. We will embrace them and we will shine our lights of unconditional love that we transmute all those shadows into the purest light. Thank you for listening. I offer Akashic Records reading and Akashic clearing. You can find it in my website, manifestyouridealdreams.com. I'll also leave the link in the description below. Much love and peace.